Hey everyone, happy to be here today. Happy Monday. It's another day for the Other Side podcast. If this is the first time that you are with me, I just wanted to say hi, hello. My name is Janelle Villiers. I'm happy to be with you. I am the author of the book titled I Slept with a Married Man. Am I Still a Good Person? And it is all about um, the shame-based thoughts that we think and how they can impact every single decision that we make in our lives. And so, what I love to talk about is the difference between guilt and shame, where guilt is, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, and shame is, I'm sorry, I am a mistake. And it's that type of thinking, the shame based thinking. I am a mistake. I'm unlovable. I'm unworthy of love. I'm a bad person. All of those things are things that I was thinking subconsciously that I even led me to making the decision to sleep with a married man. And so definitely I'm not promoting that idea. Definitely it's in the book as well. I definitely say don't do it. It's not a good idea in the end, in case anyone was wondering. So uh, I guess spoiler alert in that sense. But what I love to focus on is the thoughts and the mindset that we have that have us end up self-sabotaging and flirting with risky behavior and those types of things. And so today I really wanted to get into the triggers. Let's talk about triggers because these are the things that have us end up, even if like we're aware that we're having shame-based thoughts, the triggers, they really are the things that kind of like push us, like kind of like rev us back into that thinking. So even if we're out of the shame-based thinking, we can get back into it based on triggers or things. And triggers can include events that happen or circumstances or scenarios or things that are heard that we hear people say to us. All of those things can trigger us into that type of thinking. Last time I was with you guys, I talked about how I recently basically failed on a very public arena. People saw me fail, and that like triggered this shame-based thinking. And so failure is obviously one of those triggers. And so I wanted to just point out what those triggers are, because knowing what your triggers are, I think is a huge it can help us a lot, because now once you're aware of your triggers, then you can like do something about it, right? But if you're not even aware, a lot of times you just kind of get stuck in the trigger and you're just like essentially going on autopilot and you didn't even realize it a lot of times. So this is a worksheet that I came up with. I love using this worksheet for many of the workshops that I give. So if you've ever been to one of my workshops, one of my master classes, please go ahead and put that in the chat and let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your big takeaways from the master class that you attended. But here's some examples of some triggers. You can have people triggers. You can have events and circumstance triggers. So I'm sure you're already reading through some of these, and I'm just going to highlight the ones that are big for me, right? So the disappointment in someone's eyes, conflict is big for me. I am not someone who likes conflict. Being disrespected is also a big one for me. What's going on here? Like, why would they do that? Am I not good enough? Like those types of things. Partner throws the past in your face. That'll get me immediately. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm a bad person. I'm horrible. Right? Like those are the types of things. So those are the types of things for me in terms of people. And then events and circumstance, failure. I already talked about that. That's probably a trigger for a lot of people when you fail. So the idea is like you did something that failed, and then many people interpret that as I am a failure, right? So it's taking on that character. And once you start having that, I am a failure, I'm a bad person, I'm not good enough, like once again, you're in the shame spiral, right? So failure is maybe a more obvious trigger. Forgetting to do something, embarrassment can also be a trigger. Gaining weight, stress, having to ask for help. Oh, this is one for me. That is definitely something that can create a whole bunch of shame-based thoughts running around in my head. I'll also say, and just be very vulnerable, sexual encounters sometimes can do that for me too, depending on the situation and the partner and all of that stuff. So it's really important that hopefully you found these really helpful by actually seeing them. I think for some people, they're like, oh my God, yes, that thing, right? And now that you know what your trigger is, then you can use that information to then respond differently? And maybe the next time we get together, that's what we'll talk about next. How do you respond to the triggers once you know that they're happening, right? So now that you've been triggered, now what do you do? Can't wait to talk about that next time. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next week, Mondays, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Have a wonderful week ahead.